Welcome, everybody, to another week of the Next Gen Cattle Podcast. We're really excited to have Cooper Brokenshire on this week. You know, Coop and I have grown to be pretty good friends over the last few years, and definitely someone I was looking forward to having on. So, hope you guys are ready for a laugh. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Next Gen Cattle Podcast.
And here's your host, Mitch McCready.
If you're a cattle producer who understands that stress, environment, and transition directly impact performance, this will resonate. We're Kim and Jackie from Grow Your Life, where we support producers behind the scenes because regulated humans make clear decisions that protect the bottom line. We also teach AIM, the Animal Intuitive Method, a practical body-based system used with cattle herds to help animals settle, realign, and return to function during calving, weaning, hauling, breeding, and change. When people and animals are regulated, losses go down and outcomes improve. Find us at Grow Your Life with Kim and Jackie on Apple and Spotify and at aimhealing.ca.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 13 of the Next Gen Cattle Podcast. We're really excited this week to have one of my buddies on and longtime friends, Cooper Brokenshire. So welcome, man. It's great to have you on.
Oh, thanks for having me, Mitch. I'm super excited. I'm pumped ever since you started doing this thing. I thought it's just been something truly awesome just to hear just different viewpoints from all these different people in the industry, like, you know, kids that, you know, that are younger than I am and stuff like that, just to see kind of where, or even just to hear where they came from and how they got to where they are. You know, I just think what you're doing is awesome. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Well, thanks, man. It's been a good journey so far, and it's been I've been waiting, you know, to get you on. It's like, okay, when's the right time? And I was like, the other day, I was like, it's time to have Coop on for sure. For sure. I guess we'll start with a big question here. What's your inspiration kind of when it comes to the cattle industry?
You know, I think about this question lots because, you know, now that I'm a dad, I think about, you know, what, you know, my life kind of was growing up and stuff like that. You know, the people that I've been so fortunate to help, and, you know, like the mentors that I've had in my life. You know, I just think about all the incredible people that I've had a part of my life. Like, for example, like my brother, he's a few years older than I am. And, you know, he's a guy that I look up to a lot. And, you know, him and we've always challenged each other to better ourselves. And, you know, he's my best friend. You know, we talk every day, and he's one of my biggest mentors, and I look up to him every day. And my mom and dad too. They're the hardest working people I know. Dad works off the farm, and when dad's at work, mom's at home. She mans the ranch when everybody was at work. And even when I was living back at home before I moved out west, you know, my dad and I and brother, we all worked off the farm at the coal mine there in Estevan. And, you know, when my sister was at school, you know, mom was there when all of us were at work. Mom was at the farm. You know, she does all the ranching, and yeah, she's super hard working, and, you know, she's another inspiration, you know, to me, and she drives me to be a better person every day. She's, you know, I'm very close with my mom, and we talk every day. And that's one thing, now that I don't live at home, I talk to mom every day. And,
For sure.
you know, another person that I can touch base on is my father-in-law, Mike. He's another guy I look up to. He's one of the coolest guys that I get to spend almost every day with him.
For sure.
And, you know, I'm very lucky to be a part of their family, and I'm super lucky. And, you know, another person that I really look up to is Justin Van de Woestijn. He's another guy that, you know, he's kind of been like an older brother to me. He's a few years older than I am, and he's always been super close with my brother and I. And back in the day, he actually used to have cows at my mom and dad's place. And, you know, he kind of got our foot into the door of, you know, really dedicating my brother and I dedicating ourselves for wanting to be super talented at the cattle industry. And, we'd always have discussions in the pen and stuff like that about, what we see in cattle and stuff like that. And we bounced ideas off each other. And, I think it's super cool to have that mentor. And now that, Vandy and I and my brother, we're all dads now, and our kids are, within 2 years of each other. And I just think it's super special to have that, we're that close still. And, we're going to watch our kids all grow up together and be a part of something that, I'm just truly, I'm so happy to see my kids, or my boy and, my niece and stuff like that, grow up in the industry that I've been a part of my whole life. And it really does drive me to be, a better dad every day. And, it just drives me to want to accomplish more goals for sure.
For sure. 100%. No, and I'll touch on the mom thing. I think it's, their moms are always people that, when you're living at home every day, it's like, oh, hi mom, like, or hi dad. Right. And then you move away and then all of a sudden it's like, you spent, like, for me, it was like 22 years. I saw my parents pretty well, like, every day. And then you move and it's like, man, like, even like now it's like, I call mom, I try to call every day or talk to dad once a day. It's, yeah, it's definitely, yeah, it's an awesome story, man. Like, it's, yeah, everyone needs something to kind of always keep them going in, remind them kind of where their roots
Oh
are. And
yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. Yeah. And my mom, we literally will talk on the phone for 2.5 hours. Like when I'm feeding cows out at the farm here, usually mom's feeding cows at home and stuff like that too. And like, we will literally talk on the phone the whole
that's
time that we do
awesome.
chores. And
Yeah, for
like
sure.
Cassidy, she always asks me, she's like, how do you, like, what do you guys talk about? I said, sometimes we just enjoy each other's company, like what we're doing. Well, mom
Totally.
the other
Yeah.
day, I was on FaceTime with mom the other day, and she's like, what are you doing right now? I'm like, well, I'm walking cows in. And she's like, well, I'll look at cows with you. So I brought her out on FaceTime and we walked through the cows
That's
out here.
awesome.
And, it was like she was almost with me because, yeah,
For
man,
sure. 100%, man. Yeah, for sure. I guess speaking to that a little bit, like, why do you think, like someone for Vandy, for example, like, why do you think, having a guy like that plays such an important role, like, not just for you, but for anyone kind of in the industry, like having someone to look up to?
For me, especially, I always thought, because having a mentor, it almost gives you I always thought it kind of gives you guidance to, wanting to strive to be that person. You know what I mean? Like Vandy he's 10 years older than I am. And he was a guy that, I seen what he did and how he's progressed and stuff like that. I kind of had the mindset to, as I want to be like that. And then I seen my brother follow his footsteps, and I was like, I want to be like that. And I just think that having that important part, or that important, an important person or somebody that you can, you look up to, and you can strive to be like that. And, and I think just being a mentor, like, actually this past year, I was a part of a thing that my mom had created. It was the Prairie Prime stock club, or it's a thing where so there's 5 mentors. There's my brother and I, Vandy is another one, Riley and Maddie LaFrance are another couple of mentors in that. And we break off in it. There's about 25 kids in this, and each of us get to be a part of, these kids that they want to learn how to do stuff. And, you can tell there's kids in there that they strive to want to be good at what they do in the industry. And I think just, I'm a little bit older than them kids, and I can see that just being a part of that club and that stuff like that, it's something that, I take, very, very serious,
Oh, for
because
sure. Totally.
I reflect that off my life, like, and having that important, like that person that you can, look up to, and even just bounce ideas off of, or, hey, does this look good when you're doing, clipping something, fitting something? It's somebody that you can just, and they're not going to shun you or nothing like that. And they always appreciate your help. Right. So I just think it's very important. And I just think it's awesome to have a mentor.
For sure. Well, and I think especially in this industry too, I think especially for me, like it just happened this week, you get put into a situation where, I've never been in that situation before. And, I kind of think and kind of have a plan of, how to not handle it, but like what to kind of think of it all. Lee Wilson is my guy. Like, I'll just text Lee and be like, "Lee, you got 10 minutes tonight?" And it's like, "Yeah, for sure." So, you call Lee, and then it's a whole different perspective, right? Like, when you think of all those experience that Lee would have, and, all those, like, Vandy would have, all those guys, that,
Yeah, no,
like, it's
definitely.
just that much more. And then, you get talking to them, and it's like kind of a light bulb goes off in your head, and you're like, man, like, what I was thinking was, something that, kind of wasn't great, or like kind of, was a little bit of a bump in the road. This is a whole thing that, turned into something great over
Oh,
something
yeah,
that
definitely.
you thought might not be, just from talking to those people, and be like, take it as this, or, take it as that. It's, yeah, and I think that's the great part of this industry, right? Like, I think there's very few people that, if you picked up the phone and called and said, "Look, like, you know, this is the situation I'm in, like, what do you think?" There's not a lot of guys that are gonna, not give you their advice or whatever, right? I think
Oh,
it's,
yeah, no, definitely, and I think that's something that, that I think it's so awesome about the industry that we're involved in is, everybody it's almost like everybody's a family, and I
for
think
sure,
that's something
100%.
that you can really count on is, there's not one person in the barn or wherever that's not gonna, give you that give you a hand. Or, if you have a simple question, you can go and probably ask anybody in the barn, and they'll they'll try to help you.
For
And
sure,
I think that's
100%.
awesome about our industry.
For sure. For sure. Maybe just touch on Coop kinda growing up, and how you got to the point where you're at now.
Oh, so growing up, so I lived, well, southeast Estevan. Growing up, we had, well, there would have been 220 to 250 cows there, purebred Simmental cows, and some commercial cows growing up. And then as we kind of got older, like 13, 14 kind of age, we started messing around with breeding some club calves and stuff like that. And, I was pretty fortunate enough. I showed some pretty good steers back in the day, and ones that we were pretty high on. And then, as the years progressed and we kind of aged out and stuff like that, mom and dad, they've been still breeding clubby, and they have a, they have a sale every year. And then, that would have been I lived in the fall of 2024. I moved out to Cornack, and, moved out here in August. And then I was driving back and forth for work, and I was still working in Estevan, so I was driving back from Cornack to Estevan to work my shift work. And
What's
then
that? What's that for a drive?
2.5 hours.
Oh, that's a good hike.
Yeah, so I drive 2.5 hours before a night shift, and then I turn around and drive back. So yeah, I was getting pretty crazy. And then I moved out here, and then, started helping elders. They got about 320 cows out here, and then they have a nice sized grain farm as well. And then, they got there'd be about 220 purebred Charolais cows, and then 100 commercials. And then, yeah, they got the grain farm there. And then, so I started learning a little bit about grain farming, because I knew nothing about it before I got out west here. And, that was something that, you really don't know about something until you completely learn about something different. And, like, even
For
me
sure,
being
100%.
25 years old, I think about that, and I'm like, oh boy, like, like, I know nothing about this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
what's this grain? They're like, yeah, uh, that's lentils. I'm like, oh, what's lentils?
That's the stuff that comes in a can, right?
I'm like, oh, nice. Looks good. So, it's something that I really enjoy learning about, though. And it's pretty cool. I'm pretty good hand on the grain cart. So,
Good at hitting buttons, eh?
oh yeah, it's easy.
Oh, that's funny. What, I guess I know you work at the mine, and this might be a little bit of a non, cattle topic, but what's a day in the life of Coop look like at the mine?
Oh, well, it all depends on the day. Like, if I'm going to my job, get up in the morning, have a shower, and out the door. Usually, I'm out of the door by 7:15. I start shift at 8. And then I'm at my job. I run equipment out at the mine here. And then after that, usually I get off work. Well, I work 10-hour shifts, so I get off at 5 o'clock usually every day. And then after I get off the work, I usually come out to the farm out west here. And then depending on the time of the year, so like now that we're calving, I come out and do night chores, lock cows up, stuff like that, go through, make sure that nothing needs to come in the barn, etc. And then, yeah, that's kind of how I do that. And then on my days off, when I'm not working my shift, I'm out at the farm every day, same kind of thing. I come out here, usually Cass and I and B-Man come out here, and we're out at the farm usually all day and whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much a day in the life.
Nonstop,
And
eh?
yeah.
Nonstop.
But no,
What
I worked at the coal mine for, so it'll be 7 years in March. So I started when I was 18, and yeah, I haven't looked back. I
yeah.
enjoy it. It's pretty cool. It's like I always say that to the guys, and they ask what I do. I'm like, you ever played in the sandbox as a kid? They're like, yeah. I'm like, that's pretty much what it's like, but you're just in really big equipment.
Every kid's dream, right?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. But what do you do at work? I push dirt in a straight line.
And get paid for it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly.
That's awesome, that's awesome. What do you think a few things, you'd like to accomplish kind of in terms of, whether it's your job or the farm kind of, let's say, next, like, 5 years?
Like Cass and I, we always talk about our 5-year, 10-year plan, stuff like that. It's just something that we always bounce ideas off of each other. And I think one thing that's I think coming up here in July is we're gonna get married and stuff like that, and it's something that I want to accomplish. And I'd like to have a couple more kids and stuff like that, and just I family guy, and I want to have a bigger family. So we're
For sure, man.
then other than that, I'd like to win a breed show at a fall major. That's something that I want. I strive to do that every year. That's
For sure.
and when the stars align, I'm sure it'll happen. But I think if you didn't have goals, I think you'd drive yourself crazy if you didn't have that kind of goal for going into a fall run. That's for
Oh,
sure.
for sure, 100%, man. For sure. Yeah, and it's one of those things, it's always like you talk about it, and it's like, like, when will those stars align, right? And it's,
Oh yeah, no,
always something to
definitely.
look forward to, though, and I think with, kinda like the group of guys that we got, like, we all kinda help each other when we can, and, when
Yeah,
even when Cord won, right, it's like, man, like, we're all there, we're all just, like, it's such a good time,
yeah.
right? It all feels like you're all
So
together,
cool to even just to see your friends succeed and stuff like that. Like I was very lucky. I helped get Chuck Wall Street ready in Calgary, and that steer he was awesome. And just Cord, he's a great friend of mine, and Reed's becoming an awesome friend of mine. So just being a part of even Tremor when he won the exhibition, it was something so cool to be a part of. And I can't wait to have them guys in my corner when when one of us wins one of them big ones too. Like I'm just
Oh,
pumped about.
totally, man. Yeah. Oh, it gives me chills just thinking about it. Oh,
Oh, me too. I get fired up when I think about that kind of stuff, because it's so awesome, and then just being a part of it, it's so cool.
oh, for sure, and it's like, yeah, I think it's one of those things too, it's everyone's goal, right? Kinda like we're all in
Oh yeah.
the same thing, and it's like, you get into different industries, and it's like, oh, you wanna do this or you wanna do that, but, I think that's kind of it's the goal for everyone, right? Like, that's what everyone's
Hmm.
kinda strapping for and looking to do, right? And I think once, whether it's, your buddy or whatever, right? It's all one big family, like you said before, and it's
Yeah.
special for sure whenever someone gets her done.
Hmm.
What do you think kinda your most memorable moment would be, Coop, in terms of, show cattle?
Oh, thinking back on it, it would probably have to be in 2017 we made top 10 with a female that my mom and dad and Justin Van Woesting, they'd bought this heifer as a heifer calf from Jim Grant years ago. That would have been in the fall of 2016. And we
Simmental,
showed
right?
her. I showed her all of her all spring, all summer into the fall as a bred, and then we brought her back as a pair. We won Brandon, and then won the Supreme in Brandon, and then we ended up making top 10 at Agribition, and that was a highlight to showing cattle. And then probably when in 18, the following year, mom and dad raised a bull that made top 10 in 2018 as a big bull, and I think that was another moment that you look back on that kind of stuff, and just being in that moment, I just those are two things that I strive to get that feeling again, like cracking top 10, like that's even just cracking top 10. It's such an achievement that
Oh, totally, man.
I get
Yeah.
goosebumps thinking about that kind of stuff.
Totally, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I talked about it on another podcast before, but like even top 10, right? Like taking a step back and whether you win Supreme or not, but when you think of, how many decisions go into getting, even just to stand in that
Even
ring.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then to get top 10, like obviously, everyone wants to win. Like
Yeah.
that's like obviously like that's what everyone's going for. But like just to stand in that ring, like, when I was a kid, I shouldn't say a kid, I was probably like 18, 19, the Royal for us in Ontario when I was living there, like that's where the big thing, right?
Mhm.
And I was lucky enough to get a bull qualified. And I remember walking out there and being like, man, this is what I've dreamed of, since you're like just a kid, right? And starting
Yeah.
for it. And it's like, oh, just the first thing was to show at the Royal, and then, it was like I gotta get one in Supreme, like,
Yeah.
whatever it takes. And then getting out there, it's like, man, like, and I don't even know where I would have ended up place wise, but like I didn't even care,
Oh yeah,
I was just
just to
happy
be
to
in
be out
there and
there
just
and
to think about, all of the champions that you're standing beside is just
oh, totally.
it's
Yeah, like
so cool just to even just as an as a viewer to see
oh,
all the
totally.
champions, and like
100%.
from the first one to the last one in the ring, like they're awesome. They're it's I just think that it's
Hard to
so
pick one
cool
out of
just
that
to
ring,
be
but, like
just to
yeah.
be a part of it.
For sure, and to go into that ring and try to pick one that you're like, "Oh, like, I wouldn't take her home," like, regardless of the breed, regardless of,
Oh,
what you like or
100%.
don't like, there's one out there for everybody.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. 110%.
sure. I
There's
know
something for somebody in every in that ring. It's every
yeah.
breed.
Well, it's crazy too, like, I think even for me, like, I just think about, like, that time I was in the Royal Supreme, and I stood beside, Ashley Baker and Travis McPherson, and they had a Charbel in that year, and, like, I never really thought of it, and then the next year, that bull goes on to win the whole deal in Toronto, and it's like, it's so crazy, like, when you think about, like,
Mhm.
we were both in the same spot, we qualified at at a smaller show that, like, obviously everyone deserves to be out there, but, like, maybe there wasn't as many cattle there or whatever, and then you think, 365 days later, that bull that I stood beside goes on to win Toronto, and it's, like,
Yeah.
the whole deal, it's just such a crazy crazy industry, crazy feeling, it's just, yeah, it's wild for sure.
Mhm.
What do you think one operation that you kinda look up to, Coop?
Oh, this is a tough
Well,
question,
well,
but
there's a couple for sure.
honestly, I think about, just kind of there's so many great ones out there. It's so hard to pick one that I can, but one that I'm grateful to be a part of it is Elder Charlie. I'm very grateful to be a part of it, and the way that Mike does stuff, he about the bulls and stuff, like in the bull sale, everything about it is something that it's cool to be a part of, and it's one that I look up to because just the way how everything's done, and that's one that I'm so lucky to be a part of it, and I look up to it. I can it's pretty cool.
For sure. What, if you could go back, let's say, 10, 15 years and tell yourself, one piece of advice, what do you think it would be?
You know, this is another thing I think back on this, you know, everything that's happened and stuff like everything that I've grown out of growing up to like stuff like that. And, you know, now that I'm a dad, it changes just a total different perspective on everything. But, you know, I go back 15 years and, you know, I'd love to just, you know, just remind myself back then that if you put your mind to it and you work hard, you can achieve anything in the world. And I I live by that. I now that I'm a dad, I'll tell that to my son. You know, you work hard and you dedicate yourself to something, you can do anything you want. And it doesn't have to be showing cattle. It could be sports, it could be, you know, school, it could be anything. And I'll tell him that's, you know, he's an awesome he's an awesome baby, and that's
For sure, man.
I'm so excited he's to watch him grow, and he's a big he's a goofy. He gets that maybe from me, but
I was gonna say, I wonder where he gets that
yeah,
from.
no, yeah, and he's a smiley kid, so I wonder where else he gets that from. But
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
that's
Oh, I remember one of the first times, like, I think it's when Briggs was just born. It wouldn't have been very long after I texted you or was talking to you. It's like, how's being a dad? And it's just Coop's big smile on his face. He's like, it's so awesome.
yeah, it is the best thing ever. It's pretty cool.
For sure, for sure. If you were stuck working on one breed, you know, for the rest of time, be careful how you answer this.
Wow. You know, it's funny that you asked me this question because, you know, I put it into realization that, you know, where I am now and the part of the family that I'm a part of, you know, I think I am stuck working on some white ones my whole life, but you know, I'm getting kind of fond of them. It took
Yeah, fair enough.
about a year of about 2 full years of working Charolais cattle, you know, to really start to become fond of them. The hair is something that needs to be studied because I don't
It's an art.
understand it, but I don't get it. But you know, it's there. Yeah, I'm probably stuck working Charolais cattle the rest of my life. But you know, I joke with Mike all the time that when B-Man wants to start showing steers, I'm like, we're gonna have to start, you know, throwing some, you know, clubby semen to some of these white cows and try
Yeah,
to get some
exactly. Get some black ones around here.
He's like, well, we'll have to wait for Briggs to make that decision. So,
But
but
can't do it for the son-in-law, but the grandchild, absolutely.
oh, 100%. I'm like, I always joke him. So maybe we should bring some Angus here or something, you know.
Just
I'm like,
one day,
maybe
just
you know, bring the neighbors over. I'll work some
oh,
hair on them, and it'll be okay.
exactly. Imagine just like one night, you just bring one Angus cow out, throw it in a calving pen, and just he comes in,
Yeah.
just like, what?
What?
Like, she wasn't white or she wasn't black when I left her here last night. Oh,
No.
what's your biggest life hack?
Life hack. Well, you know, now that you know, gonna get married here in a few months and stuff like that. I talked to my brother and a couple of my older friends that are married and have kids, and they always say, "Well, good life hack, happy wife, happy life."
Like, you must have listened to Rob's podcast. It's a reoccurring thing around here.
No, but you know, it's funny that you know that you say that. Yeah, life hack. You know,
Oh,
probably
totally.
that.
I can't agree more. Like, I'm totally on board with it all.
No, 100%.
Well, we got the host gets hosted question here now. So if you got a question for me or a couple, I'd be happy to do my best to answer.
All
Oh
right.
boy. Oh boy.
Here we go. I'll pull her up here. Just give me a second. All right. First question for when you're fitting, what would you rather do? Would you rather do tops all day or would you rather do a belly / show side back leg?
Oh. I'd probably say tops.
Yeah, tops and tailhead. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
like when
think,
you do. I like
you
when you do
know,
tops and tailheads on mine.
the best part was in Regina. I'm helping Dennis and you guys are asking Coop's like, "You got a second?" I was like, sure."
Yeah,
It's
we got
like,
like 5 heifer calves in the same division.
yeah, it's like back and forth. It's like they're all white. It's all the same.
Another question for you. If you could go back in time and fit on any single animal ever that's ever won ever anything, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good one. Man. Probably, hmm, this was a little bit before my time at Preco, but I would say to work on Berkeley, I think would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think, like, to win as a like, especially a farm fair, to win as a heifer calf, to win as a bred, and then to win as, a pair. I think, yeah, that'd probably be one for me if I could,
Mhm.
go back in time and start my Prairie Cove days a couple years earlier. That would have been a cool one for sure.
And then one question, you you and Reed kind of talked about it the other day, but what's the first thing that you're buying? First thing you're buying if you win the lottery?
Hot tub.
The hot tub. There you go.
Totally hot tub. The last, like, little while, it's been so cold, and I was like, "Man, like, if I could just right out," or we have, like, a perfect little spa for it right out our back door.
Yeah.
Like, first thing, you would just be like, you sit down, you win the lottery, you check numbers, and you're like, you just call anybody, you're like, "Just hot tub right now." And then you
Oh
kinda see
yeah,
the
no,
hot tub, and
definitely.
you
I was
kinda like,
saying after you guys talked about that, I was like, you know what? I gotta ask, what's the first thing you're
yeah,
buying? Because
I would
you
say,
said, and you were like, I could spend 50 million pretty easy. I'm like, so could I.
yeah, hot tub,
But
I think, right outside, and then yeah, and then probably, like, I know I said you can't use land, but man, just start
oh yeah,
buying
might as
land and
well.
buying cows, I think, and put up a big barn
Yeah. I
and
don't think that I don't think if I like even if I was ever win, I don't think I could fully like not do anything. You know what I mean? Like I think
oh,
I'd
yeah,
have to.
for sure.
I think a guy would have to be doing something just to
Yeah.
keep his mind busy.
Oh, totally. It would just be nice, like, and we actually talked about this, oh, who was it? Anyways, I was on the phone with someone this week, and we talked about, like, money's great and everything, and, money can't buy anything, but it just takes the stress and the worry out of, like, all of it, right? It's like, oh,
Oh
you
yeah.
go and you go spend $300,000 on a heifer. For someone who doesn't win the lottery to go drop 300 grand on a heifer, like, you're sweating the whole time. Like, while that animal, is, eating, sleeping, breathing, you're like sweating bullets. But I think it's like, go up 50 million, $300,000 heifer. We'll just, yeah, you're good. So
Fantastic. I'll take 13 more of them.
how do you spend 50 million? Like 10 $300,000 heifers would be a good start. We'll fire into some rapid fire questions here, Coop, to round her off.
Okay.
Any superstitions you might have?
So this is funny because I was bouncing this a lot. Like, cause I asked Cassidy, I said, "Do I have any superstitions?" Like, because I had to think about it, and she goes, "Yes, you do." And I said, "What's that?" She goes, "You no hats on the bed," and that's something that my mom always
Oh,
taught us
yeah?
when we were growing up. Hats on the bed is bad luck, so don't put your hat on the bed. So that's one thing I never. Even if Cassidy sets a hat, I'd kick it off instantly. Get it off of
God,
there. That's bad luck. Yeah, no
what are you
bad juju
doing?
here.
What's your favorite quote to live by?
Oh, this is one I live by this every single day, and it's something that my mom and grandma's always told us when we were growing up. Was everything happens for a reason, whether it be anything. You fail and you fail at something. It happened for a reason, and it betters yourself from that experience. And it's something that I live by my whole life, that everything happens for a reason. I I don't know. It's hard to put into
Oh, for
perspective,
sure,
but
man. Yeah, totally.
I've always lived by that, and still to this day, everything happens for a reason. So,
For sure. For sure. Set up or tear down the stall?
oh, I'm a big setup the
Yeah,
stall.
me too.
I love setting up the stall. I think it sets the tone for the week. I think
Totally.
that's a good vibe. You set the stall up, blast some tunes, water the bed down, you're setting yourself up for a great week wherever it
Totally.
may be. You're ready for it. By the end
100%.
of the week, everybody's like, "Get me out of this
Yeah.
place. I'm done."
Back up this stall.
Just rifle everything you can as fast as you can into the trailer. Let's get out of Dodge.
Yeah. I wish it was different. Like, I wish it was like I don't like I don't really think there's any way you could ever make it different, but imagine if like the next day was just like chill, like you finish show and it's like everyone comes in, they got like a big buffet breakfast and everyone can just
Oh
like,
yeah, that'd
like
be cool.
decompress, everyone can like have a couple of like breakfast margaritas or whatever.
Mimosas.
No, I mean, I think, but like everyone's just so. I think especially them long shows too. Like everyone's like, after 8 days in Regina, everyone's like, "Get me out of here."
Mhm.
And the last one, oh, I got two more actually. I just thought of another one for you. Um,
Okay.
the show pet peeve.
Pet peeve, probably, I think was thinking about this one too. This drives me nuts. When you go and grab a can of tail adhesive or whatever, and you take the cap off
And
and
there's
there's
no
no nozzle on there, I'm like, who who did this?
that
That
is
might
totally fair.
that must be my biggest pet peeve. I'm like, are you kidding? This
Fair
is
enough. Or when you grab it and you go to spray it in the air and it's just like one solid like stream that comes out. And the last one I just thought of here, kind of to round it off, being a dad. What's the best dad job that you have, or the one that you enjoy the most?
you know, it's it's funny that you asked this, and I put thought into this because I think about it all the time. As the best dad job. Well, I don't think you can really, you know, put a job on being a dad. I don't think you can actually just being a dad is the best job ever. I get off work, I go home, I see my boy, and he's fired up to see me. When he sees me, he smiles and he starts banging on his chest like he's fired up to see me.
Yeah,
And I'm like, oh yeah, it's playtime. You had a day with mom. Now it's time to get riled
I
up right
love it.
before bed.
Love it.
So it's so hard to put a job. Like
For sure.
I can't pick a favorite job, and I think that makes sense. But
Totally,
I'm
man.
sure the other dads out there will agree that it's just something that it's truly special. That to have something that small or whatever look up to you, and
For
you
sure.
do anything for that kid. And when Briggs was 3 hours old, I was holding him in my arms, and you look at him and you're like, whatever you want, do whatever you want to do in your life. I'll do anything for you to make it possible. And I
For
think
sure, man.
that's the best job about being a dad, is just being a dad. And
For sure. Especially when he
it's
says he wants an Angus heifer.
yeah, yeah. We'll bring her out west,
Absolutely,
buddy.
son.
Bring her out to the Wild West. That's for sure. We'll
Exactly.
put one in. She might look a little weird in the with all the white ones, but
Hey, they all look the same in a snowstorm, so you're good.
100%.
Well, that's
But
awesome, Coop. Thanks for coming on, man. It was great to catch up, and yeah, we'll get to hopefully see you here in the next couple of months for sure.
yeah, no, thanks for having me on, Mitch. I think it's awesome what you're doing, and yeah, I'm a frequent listener, so keep up the good work and keep doing what you're doing, and all the best in the future, buddy.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. We'll chat soon. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed episode 13 of the podcast. We're pretty excited. I'm not gonna lie. We got a lot of cool stuff coming down the line here in the next couple weeks and couple months, and we can't wait to share with y'all. So keep an eye on our socials on Facebook, Instagram. Hopefully, we're gonna get a Snapchat page up and running here so we can share some of the pictures and videos you guys are sending in of watching the pod. So stay tuned for that, and we'll catch you next week.